Yasmat jatam jagat sarvam yasmin eva praliyate yenedam dharyate chaiva tasmai jnanatmane namaha. Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavat vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha. Taittiriya Upanishad mayacharya prasadataha vispashtartaruchinam hi vyakyeyam sampraniyate. Om Shanno mitrashram varunaha Shanno bhavatvaryama Shanna indro brihaspatihi Shanno Vishnururukramaha. Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we'll recite this Anuvaka which we are going to take today. Prithivyantariksham dyaurdisho vantaradishaha Agnir Vayuradityas Chandrama Nakshatrani Apa Oshadayo Vanaspataya Akasha Atma Ityadi Bhutam Atadhyatmam Prano Vyano Pana Udana Samanaha Chakshushrotram manovaktvak charmamagasagusnavasti majja yetadadhividhaya rishiravochat panktam va idagum sarvam panktenaiva panktagusprunotiti. So this is the 7th Anuvaka of Sikshavalli. We completed the 6th Anuvaka last class, and with the 6th Anuvaka we completed 3 important upasanas in the so far. The first was the Sandhi Upasana. You know, Santanam, Sandhi, Purvarupam, Uttararupam, one method of contemplating. That was the first thing we did. Then the second Upasana was Vyahriti, Bhuh, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha. We took that model of contemplation. So that was the second idea for meditation. And the last Upasana was on Hiranyagarbha. How in the heart, in the cave, that little space in our heart, how should we contemplate? Which is what we saw we completed it last class. So now we are going to the 4th Upasana. There are 5 Upasanas, as I told you. In the first chapter of Sikshavalli, there are 5 ideas for contemplation. 3 we have seen. And today we will see the 4th. And this is called Pankta Upasana, or here I have subtitled it differently. I have called it as Pritivyadi Upadika Panchabrahma Upasana. That is a subtitle I have put here. Pankta is fivefold. Anyway, we will see that, we need to see that in detail, as we have been doing with every mantra. The mantra is not as such the issue. We need to understand the background and where from things are coming and so on. Anyway, so we will do the Pankta Upasana today, and then we will be left with one final Upasana, which is Omkara Upasana. That is the last Upasana, which we will anyway take it up in the next class. And then the convocation address in much more day-to-day kind of issues. These are all larger issues because the students are not going to come back. So the teacher wants to leave some thoughts. I have taught you so much, but I want you to understand, see the larger picture of where you should go. That is what is happening now. The need to think larger and bigger and so on. That is part of it. So we will see this fourth upasana. Actually, as we have already seen, these upasanas are nothing but the ground for rehearsal. Again and again, the rishi is pushing us to a particular thought process. And what is that thought process? That thought process is a rehearsal ground for us. And what are we supposed to rehearse? We are supposed to train ourselves, our mind and our thought process in terms of linking Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. These are the only three known things for us. Known in the sense, Jiva and Jagat are known. Jiva, I experience, therefore I am. So each one of us, are able to see the Jiva part. The Jagat we are able to see. Right? So that is the second. The Ishvara is an idea. We have not been able to experience it so well, but there is a certain belief. There is a larger force of transcendence. I do not know how to call it. People may use their own names. Different religions can use their own names and so on. But the fact remains there is a larger force. So that is the Ishvara component. So this upasana is multiple ways by which we want to tie our mind towards thinking about these three. That is what is happening from the very beginning. From Sandhi Upasana to Vyagriti to all that we are saying. So that is attempted differently today. So these are all the rehearsals. Why? Because the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad is directly linking Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. So it is, we need this practice so that if and when we reach the summit, we scale the peak. So these practices are very important. Even I told some time back, even if you want to do a parikrama of Kailash, people do 3 months of exercise before that. You need to do a certain amount of walking, a certain amount of 4 kilometers, 8 kilometers, whatever. So even for such a simple thing, there is a practice required. To experience Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Aikyata, we need much deeper exercise. That is the logic. That is the idea of the upasana. It will run away, it will not stay, but that is where the rishi is coming. So that is what it is. When we go to the summit, we should be able to scale the peak. So these are exercises for that. So this upasana is called Pankta Upasana. And Pankta actually means fivefold. In fact, it is coming from a word also, Pankti. Pankti, for those who, if and when they do Sandhya Vandana, they utter the word Pankti. It is one of the meter in Chandas. It says, when you do the second part of Sandhya Vandana, you mention 7 lokas. For 7 lokas, there are 7 meters. Anushtup, Trishtup, Ushnuk, Anushtup, Brigati, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagati. There are 7. These are all Vedic meters. Prominent Vedic meters. One of them is called Pankti. So that also means 5. I will show it. I have all the meters. I thought I'll just, some of them we know, some of them we do not know, but I just wanted to show that. Anyway, now in this upasana, the message is from a concept of a fivefold. So this Pankta, that's why it's called Pankta Upasana. Panktamba idagum sarvam pankte neva panktaggas pranotiti. That's how the upasana ends. So it talks about Pankta, fivefold. So this 5 is a very, very important number. I mean, I don't know whether we think about it, we know about it, but we need to think about it. So I think this upasana is meant for it. 5 is a very, very important number. It has a deep philosophical meaning. It has a deep relationship to our existence. It has deep relationship to the jiva, jagat, everything is related mystically, mysterially, to the number 5. I want to talk about it in some detail. Then we will see the upasana. Because upasana is very simple. Mantras are very straightforward and simple English. That's okay. So we will do that. So we'll understand this idea of 5. So as I told you, Pankti is a Vedic meter, and maybe I will take it to the Vedic meter first. It's in the different order. Let me take it to the Vedic meter. We'll go to this page 3 pages later. So there are several meters, chandas. It's called chandas. If you remember in the first class, I talked about Veda Angas, Upa Angas. Chandas was Nirukta, Jyotisha, Chandas, Alankaras and all that. Chandas is very, very important. If you have to know this knowledge contained in the wisdom, you need Vyakarna, you need Jyotisha, you need Chandas. So, this is coming from Chandas, which is the meter. When you say anything in poetic, because the entire Rig Veda is in a poetic form. So, without Chandas, it is difficult to make a sense of it. And so, there are many, 7 prominent are here. Gayatri is known. Gayatri is called Gayatri. The Chandas, this is called Gayatri. The Gayatri mantra is in Gayatri Chandas. It has 3 parts. Pada is the part. It has 3 parts. Each part has Ashta Aksharas, 8 syllables. In Gayatri, actually I showed it in one of the earlier classes. I showed the 8, 8 and 8. So Gayatri is called a Chandas because the Gayatri mantra is in Gayatri Chandas, which has 24 syllables split into 3 quarters or 3 padas into 8. The most popular Chandas we all know is Anushtup. Every stotra that you say is in Anushtup. Whether it is Vishnu Sahasranama, whether it is Mahabharata, whether it is Ramayana, whether it is Gita, you name anything, they are all in Anushtup. You can go and check today, you will find a pair of shlokas, the single line and the double line which makes one shloka, will have 4 parts. Each part will have 8 syllables exactly. You can check. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. You can say Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Exactly 8. That makes the first pada. Mamaka, in the next line, Mamaka Pandavas Chaiva will be exactly 8. Mamaka Pandava Chaiva. Kimakurvata Sanjaya will be 8. Exactly. So this is very popular. Anushtup is very, very popular. Anushtup is nothing but one more pada added to Gayatri. 3 into 8, you add one more 8, it becomes Anushtup. They are very close cousins, sort of. Those two are popular. Anushtup and Gayatri. The rest are all not that popular because this is people who knows Sangeeta. They know Ekatala, Jambatala, Adatala and all that, Misra Chapu, all those jatis. It's like that. It is the number of beats for Adatala, there are 11. So you have 14 or something. So all those are there. It's similar to that. It's a certain rhythm. Because it is poetic, it needs to be in a certain rhythm. In that, Pankti is there. So this is what, they say, Gayatri, Ushnik, Anushtup, Brigti, Pankti, Trishtup, Jagatyas, Chandamsi, Agni, Vayu, Arka, Vahi, Savarna, Indra, Vishwe, Deva, Devataha. In fact, there are 7 lokas. For 7 lokas, 7 chandas. For 7 chandas, 7 devatas are normally told in Sandhya Vandana mantra. These 7 will be part of that. So Pankti is part of that. That's why it's called 5. Because the Vedic meter, Pankti, has 5 padas, not 4, 5. And each one of them have 8 syllables. They make it 40. So this is another reason why the word Pankta comes, because the Vedic Chandas, which has 5 pada, is called Pankti. So Pankta is 5-fold. Anyway, that's the easiest part of the Pankta. But we will go to the other things. See, moment we think of 5, there are a few things which we always know. The only thing I need to do today is to connect all of them to a philosophical dimension and to some deeper thought. For example, moment you say Pancha, we know Pancha Bhutas. Very commonly we are aware of it, right? You have, in fact in the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, first paragraph is only on this. Akashat Vayuhu, Vayor Agnihi, Agnerapah, Apyah Prithvi, Prithvyam Oshadayah, Oshadibhyonnam, Annat Purushah. These five bhutas are also organized in a particular order. First it is Akash, space. The first is Akash. First you need space. Without space there is nothing else possible. So Akasha first. Akashat Vayuhu. Then comes, when you have space, then you need, the gaseous system will come. If there is, in vacuum nothing happens. In empty space, you need a space to start anything. So Akashat Vayuhu. Vayor Agnihi. Fire, if fire has to happen, you need oxygen, carbon dioxide, all those things are there, which are all coming out of gaseous system. So that's why the rishi says, Akashat Vayuhu, Vayoho Agnihi, Agnehe Apaha. The water, if water has to come, you need heat. Because it is a condensation, this distillation, that is a cycle. Evaporation, distillation cycle is how water comes. It is a certain kind of recycling mechanism, sort of. So, Akashat Vayuhu, Vayor Agnihi, Agnehe Apaha, Abhyah Prithvi. So, the earth, a gainful earth happens only when the previous four are in place. That is what they are trying in Mars. That is exactly what they are doing in Moon and Mars. What do they? First they explore the space. Then they find out what kind of gaseous system is there. This is how modern science is doing. So Pancha Bhutas we are aware. That's one number 5 which very easily we remember. The second 5 Pancha which are again we know as Pancha Pranas. Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udhana and Samana. 5. It is coming as part of the Upasana, so I am not going to detail it now. But 5 pranas. All of us have 5 pranas. And so that also, sort of we know in a common parlance kind of a thing. So Pancha Pranas. Then another 5 we know is Pancha Karmendriyas. Right? Which is, Vak, Pani, Pada, Payu, Upasta. These are the karmendriyas, organs of action. The upper limbs, lower limbs, right? The tongue, the reproductive system and the excretory system. The 5 karmendriyas. Then we have 5 jnanendriyas, which is seeing, hearing, tvak and all that. Feeling, smelling, tasting, right? All those. Seeing, hearing. So Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, this 5 is also known. It's a very common thing. Then there is something called Pancha Tanmatras. Tanmatra, actually Tanmatra is Tad plus Matra Tanmatra. It is a Sandhi. Tat Matra, that alone. Tat Matra means that alone exists. So these Pancha Mahabhutas, this concept is very vividly described in the creation of Vyashti and the Samashti. This 5, Pankta is a very, very important principle in explaining how the larger universe is created and how this body is created also is explaining the same thing. See, the microcosm, which is the Vyashti, and the macrocosm, which is the Samashti, are identical. That's our conceptualization, and that's what you see. Finally, that's what you see. If you take the ultimate particle that you have, there is a nucleus around which something is. So we take the larger universe, they say galaxy, Milky Way, but saying the same, the phenomenon is the same. The numbers and the size may be different. So how this Vyashti and Samashti is created also, there is a number 5 involved in the whole thing. In Vedanta it is called Panchikarana. I want to talk about Panchikaranam in some detail today. Because the moment we read this mantra, all these must come to our mind. Because these mantras are all really very large in scope because of only this reason. So 5 Tanmatras are there. In fact, there is a Sankhya system. These 6 darshanas, I mentioned that also. Here Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, you have Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and you have Yoga. These 6 are called 6 darshanas. In this country, these 6 are the ancient piece of knowledge which actually connected Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara with a model. They brought a certain way of explaining the link between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Yoga, Patanjali came with a eight-step process in which he explained. In fact, the goal of all of them is that you should liberate finally. You should become completely liberated. So they took different path. Nyaya did something, Vaisheshika did something. Nyaya and Vaisheshika came from they are logic. They are hardcore logicians. They came from a different perspective. In fact, Nyaya starts with, it says, any knowledge can be explained in 17 ways. That's the first sutra. First shloka is that. There are 17 ways by which any knowledge can be explained. And then the entire text is only expanding that. That's how it is, So that is Nyaya. Now Sankhya explains how the Purusha, and Sankhya has 24 numbers. The Sankhya system is called Sankhya because it's all numbers. It's all about numbers. 24 numbers form part of the Sankhya system, and the 24 elements are as follows: Pancha Tanmatras, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Bhutas. 4 into 5, 20. So ho gaya. Right? 4 into 5. Pancha Tanmatras, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Bhutas. Then Buddhi, Manas, Chitta and Ahankara. These 24, they use these 24 and they say any material thing can be constructed out of these 24 elements. This is called Prakriti. Then you have Mahat and then Purusha. So that's the model. So every one of them is explaining what is the relation between God and the Jiva and the Jagat. That is the idea. So there the 24 elements are there. All these are used there. So this is how it is. In fact, immediately after the next Anuvaka, after this Omkara Upasana, we will see Pancha Maha Yajnas also, which we saw in Bhagavad Gita also. There is Pancha Maha Yajnas also. So there are 5 numbers. Moment we think of 5, there are very interesting issues which we need to connect to. So if we leave the Pancha Maha Yajnas for the moment in this list of 5, which I am talking, if you take Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Pranas, Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas and Pancha Tanmatras, how do you connect all of them? Are they just some fancy ideas? Are they just some simple concepts? No. They are all put together through what is called Panchikaranam. In fact, Adi Shankaracharya has written a nice book. I was trying to download a free copy, I couldn't. So with the available time, I couldn't find it. I wanted to actually read it a little bit more. It's a short piece. He has written a book called Panchikaranam, in which he has explained this whole thing in a fair amount of detail, because it is a deep Vedantic thought in terms of how these things are connected together. So we will come to that. Because all these are very intimately related to one another. These Pancha Karmendriyas, Pancha Jnanendriyas, Pancha Bhutas, Pancha Tanmatras and all these are complete Pancha Pranas. These are all related. It has deep philosophical meaning. It's not just a simple thing. Yes, Priya, 1 minute. It has explanatory power through a process called Panchikaranam, which I am going to talk about. And it is also related to our sojourn in life. In multiple janmas, they are all related through that. Yes, Priya. Yes, Panchakoshas are also there. That is also there in the 2nd chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad. Yes, there are Panchakoshas also. You are right. In the 2nd chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, that's the main discussion. Thanks for pointing it. Okay. Now before that, I want to also introduce something very interesting. See, Sanskrit language has some very unique ways of representing many things, which I don't generally find in many other languages. For example, there are a lot of synonyms. All these synonyms they are not very casually made. They have I'll take 2 synonyms for sun. If you want to say sun, there is a Sahasranama. So there are 1008 synonyms. Or there is a Ashtotra, there are some 18 synonyms, abridged versions. I will take 2. Surya is one, but then Bhaskara and Aditya. Right? Mitraha, Varunaha, these are all, Arunaha, these are all there. Now, Bhaskaraha, the word Bhaskara, when you use for sun, What it means is one which emits light. That's the meaning. So in that context you have to use that word. So when you want to describe sun from a perspective of the one who gives light for the whole world, you may want to use the word Bhaskara. That is how it is. So these words are all very, very context. So the synonyms all are not simply synonyms. There is a story behind each synonym. There is a context in which the synonym has to be used. For example, Aditya. Aditya is Adityaha Putraha. So there are 11 Adityas. Diti and Aditi. Kashyapa Prajapati. So if you want to come from that, you have to use the word Aditya. So like this Sanskrit language, these words are all constructed like that. Let's talk about world. There are so many synonyms. Jagat is one. Correct? There are two synonyms I want to bring. One word for world is Lokaha. Loka. In all languages you use the word Loka. Right? Lokaha comes from the Sanskrit root Lokr. Lokr Darshane, to see. That is a dhatu. That is a verbal root from which the word Lokaha, Kridanta or something, it has come. It's called Lokaha. Look at you know what does it mean? It's a very interesting word. Because it comes from a root called Darshane, see. Lokaha means that you can see is called world. What you can see is called world. Which means a lizard or a snake's world is different from your world. It doesn't have all the 5 indriyas. You look at this issue. The word Lokaha means, we simply say world, it is not world. Lokaha comes from a Sanskrit dhatu called Lokra, which means to see, or in the context of seeing. That is the meaning of that Lokra. Since the word Lokaha is used, Lokaha means all that you can see is the world. What you can't see is not world. Please understand. And this is a very deep meaning, because insect's world is very different from your world. For something like a reptile, there is no world in which sound is there. There are many animals which only 1 indriya works, 2 indriya works, 3 indriya works. There is a 4 indriya, there is a 5 indriya. They all may be in the same room, but their world is different. Please understand that. That is a meaning coming from the word Loka. So it's not a very casual word. Right? There is another word for the world. Prapancha. We use this. Right? So this Prapancha, actually there is a pancha there. Prapancha. Right? The word pancha is part of it. So what is this meaning of world means? That's of course, that is related to this upasana actually. So Prapancha means that which has manifested out of 5 things. That's the actual meaning. Essentially that's the meaning of Prapancha. We may be simply using the word Prapancha. It is diversity of manifestation. You go and search for the meaning of the word Prapancha, it will actually say diversity of manifestation. That's what world is. There are different kinds of people, different forms and shapes, different structures and so on. The question is, then you have to go one step behind and ask, how did this multiplicity happen? That happens through what is called Panchikarana. That's why it's called Prapancha. So every word in Sanskrit is like this. There is a reason why we use a word like that. That has a meaning, that has a background, that has a context. So Prapancha, which we normally use as one of the synonym for world, means actually diversity of manifestation. In other words, it is the play of Prakriti. What is manifestation? That is Prakriti. The nature plays out. So the question is, how does the nature play out? The nature plays out through an idea called Panchikarana. So I will explain that Panchikarana and then we will see the Upasana. That's a straight thing after we see the Panchikarana ideas. So we'll go back. Okay. So I took 2 shlokas from Atma Bodha. Atma Bodha is again Tattva Bodha and the Atma Bodha are a pair of pieces which Shankaracharya has written. Atma Bodha has about 62 shlokas. I just picked up, I know there were 2 shlokas in Panchikarana, so I found it and then pulled it out. So let's look at this shloka. It says, Panchikrita Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukkanam Boga Ayatanam Uchyate. Basically he explains how each one of us, how did this, each body was created. Each body is created for a human being, for an ant, for a mosquito, for a buffalo, for whatever. And it has to go through its process and it meets its end also. Every one of us. It's only that for some the lifetime may be a few hours, for some it may be a few years, for some it may be 80 years and so on. It is explaining what really happens. It says, so what does it says? It says, karma sanchitam. First of all, you bring a baggage of karma. Please understand, in our Vedanta, in our model, you have to bring a bag of prarabdha to manufacture a body. And you have to exhaust the prarabdha through the body. Once the prarabdha is over, you cannot stay here for a millisecond, you will go. The so-called death, about which we are so worried about, is an indication that the bag that I brought in this Janma is over. And how does it work? I mean, you should look at the child, the newborn child, and you should look at it for three. See, I was hearing this from another pravachaka. It was a very nice example, so I very well vividly remember. He says, you go from here to another city. You carry a bag. Your luggage is there. Maybe stay in your relative's place or your hotel or whatever. He says, watch out what is happening. First you go there and put the bag there. Check in. Or go to your brother's house or whatever, or in-law's house, whatever. Right? Now, you don't open the bag and throw everything out, bring everything out. First 2 hours you find, you open and you take only the toiletry or something, the toilet kit, and then maybe the toothpaste and the brush. A little later maybe you take the soap because you wanted to take a bath or something like that. A little later you take a set of dresses because now that you want to wear and so. Just observe this process. If you stayed there for a longer time, now more or less the bag has come out. Almost all of them have come out. Because only when you go back, you will pack everything and go. This time you will quickly pack and go. You don't have to pack it very orderly and so on. Same thing a child does. There is an equivalent to it. The child for the first 3 months is not in this world. Please understand. It was born in this world. It didn't take charge of the indriyas. That's why it cannot even see it. In fact, after 3 months, the eye will go somewhere. That's how the child is. It takes about a year or a year and a half to take charge of everything. This is like opening the bag and taking things out. It has come with the prarabdha. It has still not opened. The child has not opened. Moment it has taken charge of everything, it will take out everything. Then you go through all that you have to experience in this Janma. Sukha, dukkha, whatever it is. That's what it is talking about. So this shloka explains that you brought some karma with you. Now having brought the karma, because there is this sanchita karma, this is a tank. From the tank you took a small bag of what you want to exhaust. That is called the Janma. In the Janma we only exhaust a portion. Now having taken that, now you need a proper container for it. So that is what it says. That process is called Panchikarna. So Panchikritam, what is being Panchikritam? The Mahabhutas. How do you make this body? You don't make it out of nothing. You make it out of 5 Mahabhutas. The 5 Mahabhutas are air, water, gas, space. All those are 5 Mahabhutas. From the 5 Mahabhutas, you take that material and do something called Panchikarna, right? Sambhavam, Karma Sanchitam Mahabhuta Sambhavam. From the Mahabhuta, you create something. What? That is called Shariram. The second line, that's what it says. So the body that we manufactured is manufactured through a process called Panchikarna. And why do you do it? Because you have to go through the Sukha and the Dukkha. Sukha Dukkhanam Bhogayatanam. In other words, this is the tent in which you have to, this is the, a kind of a container in which you are going to experience. You are not experiencing, it is only a container. You are now going to experience. This body is called Kshetra. In Bhagavad Gita, it is called Kshetra. And the one who is going to experience is called Kshetrajnaha. Kshetra Kshetrajnayor Yajnanam Tajnanam Mama Matam is what he says in 13th chapter, 2nd shloka. Right? Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramit Abhidiyate Kshetrajnam abhimam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. That's how it starts, chapter 13. So this is only a container. We may attach ourselves to our body thinking we are the body. That is our ignorance. This is a container, it is like a tent in which you are going to, it is a deha, in which the dehi is going to come and sit and enjoy or not enjoy, whatever it is. So it is bhoganam ayatanam. He is not a bogi. It is bhoganam ayatanam. This is a place where you are going to enjoy the sukha and the dukkha. So you created this stula sharira. It's called panchikaranam. That process is called panchikaranam. Now panchikaranam is explained. I took it from Chinmayananda's book because I found he has very pictorially and nicely done it. So I just lifted it from there and then put it here. So the panchikarana happens like this. See, 5 mahabhutas are put on the top. Akasha. Akasha is a mahabhuta, right? And Vayu, right? Agni, Apaha, Prithvi. That is what, Akashat, Vayu, Agni, all that which I said in little while ago. Those are the 5 mahabhutas. Now how does it do? Now there are a 5-stage process in which it happens. First of all, the mahabhutas are left to themselves. That's called tanmatras. Tadmatra. That alone, it is there. Then it shows a tendency to split itself into two halves. That is stage 2. Okay? And the 2-part division happens. These are all explained, I think in Chandogya or somewhere it is there. I was trying to take it, I could not. I know it is available in some other places. In a few places it is available, actually. Anyway, so after the 2-part division, that half which is there, for example, Akasha has become now 2 halves. That 1 half will become 1/4, so it becomes 1/8. Half into 1/4, which is 1/8. So that will become 4, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, which makes a half. Like that, all of them will become like that. Okay? Now, the Panchikaranam process is that Akasha, for example, will have half of it. It will borrow 1/8 from the Vayu, 1/8 from the fire, 1/8 from the water, 1/8 from the earth, and that is the Akasha that is here. The Akasha that is made in a Prakriti is from the Mahabhuta, half Akasha, and 1/8 of the other 4. I mean, there is a formula, all those are explained there. I mean, it makes sense actually. A flame also needs a space. A gas also needs a space. It cannot stand on its own. A flame also needs a gas for it to. So, this is the logic. So, when it comes to Vyavahara, when it comes to usage, the Panchikarana happens by each Mahabhuta borrowing a little bit from the others, and then it is dominant. This is dominant, the others are less dominant. In the next case, that is dominant, the other one is less dominant. That is a detailed process. This is how this body is made. This body is made like that. Every Prakriti is made like that. Right from mountains to rivers to, Stavara Jangamaha. The moving, non-moving, everything is done through a process called Panchikarana. So this is the manufacturing process of the divine force to create the Prakriti. That is what is being explained here. No, I said one takes these yellow peas from 2, 3, 4 and 5. 2 takes 1 yellow piece from 1 and another from 3, 4 and 5. Otherwise, that's how it is formed in a Prakriti. From the Mahabhuta, this is how it happens. This is the Panchikarana process. So the next sloka talks in the Atma Bodha. The next sloka says, Pancha Prana Mano Buddhihi Dashendriya Samanvitam. Now these are all Sukshma. So far we talked about the Stula. The hands and legs are all Stula. This has to be manufactured from the Mahabhutas, put them together and then get that. The Sukshmas are demat, if I have to use the word. They are dematerialized. That's why they are done before the Panchikaranam process itself. They are using the Mahabhutas in their pure form. When you do Panchikarana, you are getting a material out of it. So Stula is done with Panchikarana. So what does this sloka says? It says Panchaprana Mano Buddhihi Dashendriya Samanvitam. All these are called Sukshma Sharira. So far what we saw was Stula Sharira. This is called Sukshma Sharira. Apanchikrita Bhutottam Sukshmangam Bhoga Sadhanam. Now this is the one which is the instrument to, that is the place. The Stula Sharira is the place for enjoying. These are the instruments for enjoying. The enjoyer is still to come. This series is also part of Kshetram. If you remember my Bhagavad Gita lectures, I very clearly said all Sukshma Sariras are also Kshetram only. The prana is the Kshetrajna. All that, there are a lot of figures and all that which, if you may recall, some of you who have been, we would have remembered. So these are all also part of Kshetra only. So this is the instrument for enjoying. That is a place to enjoy. The enjoyer is yet to come. That is the Purusha. So the Panchikarana process manufactures the Stula Sharira, and then the Sukshma Shariras are done from the Mahabhuta itself directly before the Panchikaranam process happens. So that is what is explained in these two. So we will keep these in the background. Then we see the Upasana. The Upasana is fairly straightforward now. So Panchikarana, so the Pankta Upasana when we do, or when we think of fivefold, so much thought should come to us. The whole idea of, and how do you, dispose it back and so on, there the Pancha Pranas will come. I am not talking it here because it's part of the Upasana. At that time we will see it in some detail. Now we will see the Upasana with this kind of background.
So the Tanmatra in the body refers to the organ or the process?
Which one?
Tanmatra.
No, the Tanmatra is the Mahabhutas in its pure form, which is what supplies the Sukshma Shariras. So it's not the organ. Please understand, please understand, your speaker is not producing the sound. Your microphone is, your loudspeaker is not producing, although it is required. The loudspeaker is required, but that's not really producing the sound. It is only conveying the sound. In other words, it is some complex electromagnetics which is working. In the same way, these are all organs which are all only instruments, but they are not the one which is actually seeing. That is why when we are so involved, we are not hearing. Because if hearing is part of the ear, then a deaf should also hear. His ear also looks very normal, sort of. Eye also looks, of course scientifically somebody may say some nerve is going here and there. Anyway, let it all be there. The fact is, these physical organs are only reference points. The real Indriya, so they are not Indriyas. In common parlance, we may call these as Indriyas. They are not Indriyas. The Tanmatras are supplying the Indriyas.
The ability to see.
That is what is coming through this.
That is called Tanmatra.
Panchagavya. Yeah.
So this Gayatri mantra, it's the meter, not the Gayatri Devi.
No, the Gayatri mantra is set to Gayatri meter. Exactly, it will, of course, there are.
Have anything to do with Gayatri Devi?
That's what the Gayatri Devi is a personification of this mantra and the chandas. It's a upasana already. As much as Vishnu is only an upasana. Although we may have major fight on that, that is our time pass. But all 330 million gods are nothing but Mahavibhuti. They are the divine manifestation. They are all only for upasana, for the purpose of upasana. So Gayatri Devi is only an upasaka, upasana medium. As much as Omkara is not any lipi.
But can we relate Gayatri mantra to the Gayatri Devi Upasana?
Yes, we do. Okay, so in this upasana, in this seventh anuvaka, what is happening is there are macro aspects, samashti and the vyashti. So the rishi is taking some ideas from samashti. The rishi is taking some idea. Why is he doing? Because unless we repeatedly contemplate on it, Jiva Jagat Ishvara Aikita will never come. We should be able to see the parallels all the time. That is the very essence of upasana from the beginning. So what he does is, he first takes samashti, which is macro, in which he gives a set of 5 pertaining to the world. Then he gives a set of 5 pertaining to luminaries, Jyotishas or deities, whatever way you want to call it. And then a set of 5 pertaining to nature, the Prakriti. So he gives 5 examples. Then he moves on to Vyashti, and microcosm, an individual. In the individual he takes Adhyatmam, that is Adi Bhutam, this is Adhyatmam. So he takes an individual and he talks about set of 5 pertaining to the pranas, Pancha pranas are there. And then set of 5 pertaining to the Indriyas. Out of these 10 Indriyas, he just selected a 5. Part from the Karmendriya, part from the Jnanendriya. He just made us. Because his idea is to focus on this number 5 and understand it has deep philosophical connotations for everything. That is the spirit of the whole Upasana. Then set of 5 constituent elements with which this body is made. So like that he gives 3 examples and says try to see parallels, understand while you see set of 5 in Vyashti, you will see it in Samashti also, therefore try to create that bridge for yourself. Then he ends with this shloka, this mantra, Panktam idagam sarvam pankte naiva panktagas pranotiti. So he says it's all 5, whichever way you see it is all 5. The 5 strengthens the 5. That's how he ends the Upasana. Just to tell, try to connect all these linkages, you will slowly go there in terms of seeing, because we are such narrow. We are not able to see beyond me. If we are a slightly better luck, we see our family and ends there. We are not able to see beyond that. Whereas this is a highway on which we will have to expand our scope. That's why all these upasanas are meant for.
Are there any 5 deities like the devotees?
No. So we will see that. Prithivyantariksham dyaurdisho vantara dishaha. That's the first thing. So he talks 5 there. Prithivi. See, look at the choice of the word. They use the word this. Huh? No, this has been repeating from the beginning itself. It's not a Shanti mantra, but anyway, it's been repeating from the earlier upasanas also. So what is happening here? Look at the choice of the word. They are using Prithivi, Antariksham, and Dyauhu. These are very interesting. Look at their concept. You know what is the exact meaning of this? Prithivi means this world. What you can see. This world. Prithivi is this world. Then Antariksham is anything other than the world what you can see. So if you have a microscope, you can see that far. If you don't have a microscope, you see up to a point. So that's called interspace. They simply said that there is another world which I am not able to see, but I think there is another world. There is a world which I am seeing, therefore there is a space in between the two. This is the choice they are using. Look at their conceptualization. Because it's very robust. Tomorrow you expand, they will also expand. The definition will not change. They are only saying, I can see, I can't see. Something in between that is called interspace. So Antariksham is called interspace. Prithivi, Antariksham, Dyauhu. 3. Then Disha, directions. Right? He is taking an example of all the 4 directions into one group called Disha. Then Avantara Disha. Avantara Disha is interspace. See, our concept of direction is 10, not even 8. Our concept of direction, you read any Vedic mantra, you will find 10 dishas, not 4. It is not north, east, west and south. First they say north, east, west and south. Then they say northeast with the angle. Cover that sector in between. So you have, Agni, Nirriti, Vayu and Ishanya. 4 plus 4, 8. Then they say up and down. So it's a gyroscopic kind of description. Yeah, it is called Antardisha, Avantara Disha. Avantara Disha is here it is of course 4 plus 4, 8. Because up and down is covered in Prithvi, Antariksham and Dyav. This up and down is covered in Prithvi, Antariksham and Dyav. In the vertical plane. Now in the horizontal plane he is bringing direction and interdirection. So he mentions 5. He says this world of creation has roughly, you can cover it in 5. Right? That's the first 5 he talks there. Then he says Agnir Vayura Dityas Chandrama Nakshatrani. So he again brings a set of 5. Agni, so this Agni, Vayu are not the fire that we, light or the gas. These are all Devatas. Agni as a Devata, Vayu as a Devata, because this is all connected to the Dev, the other world. That ideas are coming here. So Agni, which is the fire, god of fire, and then Vayuhu. Dev is the other world. Basically the other world. Heaven we are using. Correct conceptualization is, I see something, I know there is something which I cannot see, and in between there is a space. It's a very scientific way of explaining the reality. I see something, I know there is something which I can't see, therefore there is an interspace. Antariksham, Bhuhu and Dyauhu. That's the correct definition actually. So, Vayuhu, Adityaha, Chandrama, which is the, Chandrama as a Devata, because Surya and Chandra are very, last time we saw, the Uttarayana and Dakshinayana are all related to that. So it is not just the moon, it is Devata called Chandrama, which Chandrama Manaso Jataha. In Purusha Sukta it says, it is the lord of the Manas actually. These are all Devatas. They are all, Adhisthana Devatas, and then Nakshatrani. They are all Adhisthana Devatas actually. So he gives, what he is saying is, I am taking a sample of 5 to cover the whole world of deities, or all of them are luminaries. The world of luminaries is contained only in these 5. Nothing other than these can glow. What can glow is contained here, in a way. So that is Devatas, set of 5 Devatas. Then Apaha, Oshadayaha. Then he takes the Bhutas, the physical entities that you are able to see. He takes a sample of 5 out of that. Apaha, which is the water. Oshadayaha. Oshadayaha, see, Vanaspati and Oshadaya are 2 technical words. Vanaspati is bigger trees. Oshadaya are herbs. Typically medicinal herbs. They say medicinal herbs. Basically, Oshadayas are small, little, cute looking herb like plants. Lots of small herbs, right? A tomato plant is also a herb only. Tomato is not a huge tree. It's a small little thing. Although shrubs actually, herbs and shrubs put together, but quite often Oshadi is used as a medicinal herb. Basically because in Ayurveda this reference comes too often, therefore I think it's become a little prominent. But essentially the idea is, it covers the whole gamut of the plant kingdom by choice of 2 words. One is small, one is very huge. Vanaspati, which is a large, so the plant kingdom and all that, the natural forces, Akasha and Atma. And here the Atma is not the individual. Since we are talking about the whole Prakriti, it is Virat. It is the Atman, that repository of Atman from which all Atmans are being generated. Yeah, it is a Virat. That which Sri Krishna showed in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's Virat Darshan. It is that larger repository of Atman. We have to understand it, because in this context we have to understand it like that. So he gives another 5. Ityadi Bhutam. So he says, thus these are the group of external beings, external to the Upasaka. These are all external to the Upasaka. I am contemplating. All these are external to me. That's why I call these are all external to the Upasaka. Where is this external? I am the contemplator. All these are outside of that. That's why he says, external. So in other words, it is world without. Outside of this individual, Vyakti. All these are outside of that, which is this whole Samashti. That is classified into 5 elements. He has sprinkled a few examples to cover and give a sense. Try to connect, is what he is saying. Try to connect that principle with your own principle, you will see the parallel. Only then Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, oneness will come. Doesn't come with an idea. We need to repeatedly contemplate the meaning of these things. So the deities are the luminaries, and the natural things and the worlds, those are there. 3 into 5, 15 are mentioned here. Atadhyatmam prano vyano pana udana samanaha. First, he talks about the 5 pranas, pancha pranas, right? And he says, Ata, now, Adi Atmam, pertaining to yourself. In other words, world within. So far, I showed you set of 5 in world outside. Now, I will point you set of 5 in world within. Ata Adhyatmam, that's what he says. So, he first talks about the 5 pranas, right? Prana, Vyana, Apana, Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udhana, Samana. I talked about it in the last class itself, just to recollect, right? Prana, and each one of them has a place of residence also. Prana's place of residence is heart, actually. The Vyana's only one which is like a, logistics system. So it is pervaded, sarva vyapi actually. That's why it's called Vyana. It is pervaded throughout the body. Vyana is the only one which is nervous, basically, right? Then Apana, the place of that is the reference is the anus. It is an excretory system. Basically, it is a, disposal mechanism in the system, actually. Apana. The Udana's place of residence is the throat. Antare Nataluke. In the last mantra, I explained it in great detail. Indra, say, Indra Yonihi, the throat. That is the reference for Udana. That's why easiest way to kill people is to squeeze the throat. Looks like. Because that's the reference. Because Udana is actually the Vayu which is in charge of packing and going. When this Purusha decides to go, it is done by Udana. Udana Vayu is in Prashna. If you look at Prashna Upanishad in chapter 3, you will get very good descriptions of this. What happens and so on. What is the order? And what order? First speech is withdrawn. Speech is withdrawn into the mind. In fact, when people die, you can actually correlate it. They will stop, they may not be able to speak. A few hours before the prana goes, first thing speech will be cut off. Even normal death, I am not talking about some complicated thing. Speech will be withdrawn first. All these are explained. Speech will be withdrawn into the mind. So people can read and understand your thing, but they cannot talk. Because first what happens is speech is withdrawn. Then manas is withdrawn into prana. Okay? So you will now lose your consciousness. But you will be, the person is alive, sort of, right?
The senses are gone.
Yes, basically that's when you withdraw manas, the senses are gone. Then, so speech is first withdrawn, and then into the manas. Manas is withdrawn into the prana. Prana is withdrawn into the Agni, and Agni is withdrawn into the Udana. Udana goes. That's why the final acid test is body is cold. The last acid test is, so everything is explained. It's order also. They are very vividly explained in places. So anyway, that is Udana. That is in the throat. And then you have the Samana, which is the energy creator. Samyate, it equally distributes as required, takes the food and then converts it. So stomach is the navel region is the point of reference for Samana. So he talks about those 5. These are the 5 vital principles of our living. And the Udana is the one. Finally, last time I talked about Indra Yoni and all that. We related all that to that discussion. Then he talks about Chakshu, Shrotram, Mano, Vak, Tvak. Then he takes a sample of 5 Indriyas from Karmendriya and Jnanendriya combination. He has just taken 5. So he talks about Chakshu, which is the eye, and Shrotram, correct? These 2 are actually Jnanendriyas, right? Manas is actually a super Indriya, which is all the Indriyas are actually the place of residence and control is Manas. So Manaha, Vak, speech, which is an organ of action. It's a Karmendriya, not a Jnanendriya. And then Tvak, touch, which is again a Jnanendriya. He has just taken a sample of this just to remember these 5 Karmendriyas and 5 Jnanendriyas. So there are 5 mentioned there. Then he talks about every body is made of 5 basic constituent elements. He says charma, mag, sag, snava, asti, majja, charma, which is the skin. Then mamsa, see the gummis are all, Yajurveda. It's mamsa, not magumsa, it's mamsa. So in utterance it will be like that. So mamsa basically, which is flesh. Then snava, which is muscle. Okay. And then asti. Asti is bone. And majja is that which is inside the bone, which is called marrow. So he says this frame is made of these 5 constituent elements. He has left the, so these are the 5 which he mentions here. So he again takes, so all these examples of 5, 5, 5 are from the contemplator. Each one of us can relate it to ourselves. So prana, vyana, apana, udana and samana, and 5 sense organs, and then 5 material constituents. So basically the rishi is saying, look at this principle of 5. Relate these larger ideas that are all there related to 5 is all that he wants to bring in. So this repeated contemplation must lead us to this larger understanding of how this body is created, what is this Mahabhuta, how is this Panchikaranam happening, how these pranas are very important. All these thoughts must be able to link us to this larger principle of Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. That is the logic. So the rishi ends this by showing these 3 examples, one from here and one from there. He ends the upasana by saying, Etadadi vidaya rishiravochat. Having deeply contemplated and understood this, Etat adhividaya. With this to know. Adhividaya. Having crossed that stage of knowing it. Meaning, I have deeply contemplated and got the clarity of this thought. So, etat adhividaya rishihi avochat. Thus said the rishi who did this upasana. He said, therefore he said like this. What did he say? He said, Pankta idagum sarvam. He said, oh, the whole world is nothing but 5. The whole, whatever you look at, whether you look at Vyashti or Samashti, wherever you look at, it's all 5. Panktam va idagum sarvam. Idam sarvam. Idagum is idam. Panktam va idam sarvam. Then he says, Pankte neva panktaha spranoti. It is this principle of 5 which strengthens the principle of 5 everywhere. In other words, what he is saying, this whole gamut of Samashti and Vyashti are all nothing but a lens of 5 with which you see. You will see the interrelationships, you will see the connections, you will see the larger principles of many things in life is all that he is trying to get through this. So that is the upasana, and somebody who succeeds in this upasana actually realizes that Jiva Jagat Ishvara Aikyata. That is the basic desire of the rishi, to bring such models of thought and make us repeatedly contemplate and make meaning and sense out of it. So that's how the upasana ends. So he says, Pankte neva panktag spranotiti. Then starts Omiti Brahma. That is the next Anuvaka, which is the Omkara Upasana, which is the last of the set of upasanas in chapter 1 of Sikshavalli. So we will see the Omkara Upasana next class, and then move on to some of the life skills and teachings which the teacher is going to give for the passing out students, which are the remaining 3 Anuvakas of the first Sikshavalli of Taittiriya Upanishad.